Hello, my dearest confidant. I've been out for a minute processing and just taking time for myself. I want to make sure when I show up for you guys that I'm able to show up, right? I don't want to just be complaining. So something that I recently learned about, I told you guys in the last video that I've been reading a book. I finished it now by Soul Smith. And something that I had learned from him just recently was something called demand avoidance. And I didn't realize that I exhibited that. I always said, I don't give into peer pressure. Peer pressure doesn't make me choose you. Trying to get people together and say, Alicia, you should do this because blah, 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 trying to make me feel bad or whatever. I've never been one of those people that gives into that. Usually it makes me buckle down in the opposite direction. And I didn't realize that there was a term for that. I've always told people that I don't respond well to peer pressure. But apparently demand avoidance is what I have. And basically, if you tell me to do option A, I'm going to try my damnedest to do option B, C, or D. It's just, you trying to tell me to do something makes me do the opposite. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are like that. I know I used to say things like, don't tell me what to do, and I really feel like this is a real problem in our society. People always think that they have the answer for somebody else. And while you may have experience and you may have done something similar in your life as what they're going through right now, it doesn't mean that they necessarily want your advice or perspective. And I know I have a habit of trying to empathize with somebody by saying, oh yeah, that happened to me, and tell my story, which is not the same thing as trying to get them to follow your advice. But I know that it's something that I'm trying to work on, like not giving unsolicited advice. That's a separate topic, but it kind of correlates here. And the whole reason why this came up is because yesterday I was in one of my little raising duck groups, and somebody had asked if something was bumblefoot or not. And I would say 90% of the comments were, yes, it's bumblefoot, treat it. And I'm under the impression that it's not bumblefoot unless the animal shows me signs that it's bumblefoot. It's a type of infection. It's not just a cut, it's a type of infection. And somebody had said, hey, no, that's not, bumblefoot. It's a callus. Don't treat it like you would bumblefoot. And all I said was, yeah, I'm so glad that you said this, because most people jump to treat bumblefoot. And then somebody underneath me commented with their whole experience of why it was bumblefoot, basically saying I was giving bad advice, when I, in fact, didn't actually give advice. I didn't actually say whether it was or it wasn't bumblefoot. And so it just made me spiral the rest of the day. And I'm like, what the heck? What the heck? They were trying to convert my belief into their belief because they had experience with it. And, that kind of triggered that demand avoidance, right? So, I'm going to do everything I can to prove you wrong. In reality, it really isn't worth my energy, right? And, yeah, it's not worth my energy. But I did tell the lady, I was like, I can appreciate your experience, and I'm sorry that happened to your duck, but I'm just saying that it's not always bumblefoot. And if you have advice for the OP, you can direct it there. And then, I kind of waited the rest of the day for her to say something back, because I knew she wasn't going to have a positive reaction to that, even though I was just saying, hey, you're barking up the wrong tree. I'm not the one asking the questions here. I'm not the one with the question. I was simply praising somebody else for saying, hey, yeah, it might not be a bumblefoot. And so, anyways, then I decided, I don't have to re-engage with that post. I don't have to re-engage with that energy. And I had already redirected it, right? I put my boundary up. I don't want to talk to you about this. Take it over there. And in reality, it doesn't matter if they say anything else, because my wall is now up. I'm shut down. And I think that's the other thing that people have a hard time with, is when somebody isn't open to your advice or feedback, you tend to buckle down and try harder, when all you're doing is making it worse, because they already weren't listening to you, right? They weren't in a listening mindset. And yeah, I mean, it's like talking to a brick wall, and then you get upset because your feelings are hurt because they're not listening to you, but they already told you they weren't going to. You just didn't listen to the signs. You weren't. I mean, I think that's a pretty clear thing, me saying, hey, if you have something to say, direct it over there, because I'm not trying to hear it. But she did end up responding, and I just deleted the notification for that post, and I turned off the notifications for that post. And it made the rest of my day go so much better. And the other part of this is, this video is that I want to say, like, you don't always have to re-engage. Like, I've always been, so let's go back to my childhood, because everything stems back from that. When I was a kid, and my mom was correcting me, I wasn't allowed to leave no matter how long she talked to me until she was done with me. And so I brought that into adulthood by staying in conversations and in relationships past their expiration date, because I'm waiting for them to finish. And sometimes it can be me that's finished, and that's okay. Yeah, so just keep that in mind with your next, especially when you're talking about posts on social media and stuff. Like, if you've already said, hey dude, like, leave me alone, I'm not into this, because I've done that several times, like, hey dude, I'm not into this, and then they keep going, like, you don't have to continue to re-engage. You don't have to continue to stay and wait to be released. You can release yourself. So yeah, give yourself permission to leave if it no longer feels safe or calm, cool, and collected for you. I love you, my dearest confidant. Until next time.